over different periods of time, more so. So now I just use them at the beginning and ending of my meditation. And also when I repeat a sankalpa, which is like a personalized yogic version of an intention. But I'll just read to you a little bit, take like 5 minutes from my notes about mudras and see if there's any questions before we move on to practice some. So many spiritual traditions around the world claim that there's a tremendous flow of energy in our hands. And we know this from Reiki and healing touch and acupressure and pranic healing. The yogis believe there's minor chakras on the palms of our hands. And so, of course, our hands are how we reach out and touch the world and how the world touches us, which is not something that many of us are getting a lot of these days. But so there's that. But they can be used for all kinds of different ways of healing and therapeutics. And I'm going to resource two different books, and I'll read to you a little bit about them. But it's pretty fascinating. It goes on and on and on how each digit stands for something. And so each finger can stand for a chakra, an element, and aspects of ourselves. For example, the thumb is said to represent our soul, and the index finger, our ego. And believe it or not, the middle finger represents our light. It's sattvic, our purity, which is gives a whole new meaning to flipping someone the bird, right? Which I don't really do anyway, but now I potentially would. So our soul, our ego, our light, and the activity. The ring finger is our activity, and the little finger, our inertia. So these combine to represent the fundamentals of our makeup. And then I wrote down, because I don't always remember them, the elements. So the thumb represent the fire, and the index air, the middle finger ether, the ring finger earth, and the little finger water. So it's just there's tons, and there's so much more than that, but I just wanted to give a little bit of symbology. Um, Jumping ahead of my notes, because there's one of the books I'm going to share from is by this, I believe she's Hungarian psychologist, Sabrina Masco, and she's got a website if you want to look more up into mudras from her. She's kind of a wild character. She's got these outfits, and not all her books are like this, but so that's kind of a one of her kind of galactic suits. That's another, and let me see if I can find it. There's one that's even more bizarre than that. She's really kind of like in these galactic outfits, but the book is really, really good. And and as I mentioned, she's got a website with lots of information and other books as well. But what one of the things she said that I thought was so cool, she said, mudra is the password to the data of your inner computer. Mudra is the password to the data of your inner computer. And I don't know if you're a geek at all like I am, but like that just kind of spoke to me. And then there's one other little thing from a different book. So I'll type both of these up in the chat for you. But this is another, I think, fascinating quote, if I can find it here. It says Kundalini yoga assumes that every area of the hand forms a reflex zone for an associated part of the body and the brain. In this way, we can consider the hands to be a mirror for our body and our mind. So that is, thank you, Tom. So this is called Mudra Yoga in Your Hands, and it's by Gertrude Hershey, and I'll spell that. It's Gertrud, and then I don't know if I'm saying her last name right or not, but it's Hirschi. I find this one really lovely. I'm going to read one meditation to you from the book, but she gives the images of the mudra. She tells you what they're for. She tells you how to do them. And then she even gives you like an herbal remedy that could go with it. And then like a little visualization with an affirmation for each mudra. So this is very practical and helpful. And I thought it might be nice for you to hear from the table of contents just some of the types of mudras she has in here. So there's mudras to heal physical conditions, mudras to heal emotional problems, mudras for meditation, of course, for recharging energy reserves, for coming to terms with the past, for improving relationships, for solving everyday problems, for building character, for planning for the future, and for connecting with the divine. So there's lots of different reasons we could employ mudras for different effects. And I think that's really, 'cause it can be very prescriptive. Um, what I planned, let's see, did I jump ahead? Not really. So, what I planned was 4 to 5 mudras. Typically, you just hold the mudras anywhere from 3 to 30 minutes. I usually do around 3, but that's long enough to reroute the circuitry of our energy body. So we've all heard of meridians and the far east, and then in the teachings of yoga they're called nadis, which means rivers. So it's just energy channels, and many times they run along the lines of our nervous system and our veins and our arteries. And so anyway, it takes 3 minutes to sort of, it's kind of like locks and dams too, to sort of block some of the energy flow to some areas and open it up to others. And so ideally, I mean, you can practice for as long as you like, but 3 minutes at least with a certain mudra to start to get the effects. If you're really wanting to tackle a certain topic, issue, to call to fade a certain result, they suggest twice a day, to do it twice a day. Very often I just do it in the morning with my morning practice, but if you thought about it and that resonated, you could bring it in a second time or even before going to bed too, unless it was one that was to build a lot of energy. So let me see if there's any questions, and then I'll give you kind of an outline of the 4 or potentially 5 that we could do today. So any questions so far? Not really? Okay. So it's yoga for your hands, essentially. And you're just rerouting circuitries. And, the mudras can be done from seated, from lying down, and from walking as well. And there are very complex mudras. There's one in yoga philosophy that's like all these different movements that flow together with this fancy Gayatri mantra. And those are more complex. In Buddhist rituals, there are mudras that are used as well. And some of the mudras are done with your full body, but most of them are done with your hands and can just be done like one mudra for 3 minutes or upwards. Let's see. So they represent wisdom, sacred knowledge, and spiritual understanding. They're practiced with relaxed hands and a very light and fine pressure. So you don't have to hold them super hard or clench. In the Kundalini style, there's some that there's movements, but otherwise it's just that's one for getting rid of anxiety. I thought at the end, if we had time, we could do that one too. So some of them involve a little bit of movement, but most of them are just very light touches that you hold in a relaxed way. Some of them, your arms are up. So 3 minutes to, if you have heart disease or untreated high blood pressure, hands and arms above the heart can be a little strenuous. So you might just do a minute, come down, rest your arms, imagine they're still up there, and then come back up. Though I didn't pick any like that today, except potentially the anxiety one. But that's the only contraindications I know. Other than that, trust your inner authority. If you feel like something's going to sleep or it's just not comfortable anymore, just go ahead and come out of it. But what I thought I would do with us is do 3 minutes each, roughly, and pardon me for getting more comfortable. Chin mudra to ground. This is one that I use at the beginning of almost every yoga class or meditation class. And so I'm just going to run through what we'll do and why, and then we'll go into it. So a mudra to ground And I'm just going to lead us through a little visualization of grounding and then a little simple English mantra phrase that we can repeat while we hold it. Then I want to go into a mudra for dispelling fear and receiving blessings. And you'll see a lot of the archetypes of the Hindu pantheon and Buddhist pantheon holding this mudra. It's like dispelling fear and receiving blessings. So we'll do that second. Yep. And that will be, I was thinking of doing a single seed syllable, a mantra, a single mantra that is said to dispel fear. It's whom. I'll talk you through it when we get there. You can chant it out loud in your mind or simply listen. Then we're going to do Garuda Mudra, which is after a mythological bird. And that's where I'm going to read, yep, exactly. That's where I'm going to read a little bit from this book and a visualization and affirmation. Then we're going to do Padma Mudra, which I'll teach you each one of these as we get there. It's Lotus Mudra, and very often you just see this, but there's different phases, the bud, the flowering, and the roots. And so we're going to do a sankalpa, a yoga. This is part of my practice where I say a sankalpa 3 times in different phases. This is the bud of my intention. This is the flowering of my intention. This is me rooting and grounding that intention. And so I'll share one of my, it's kind of like an all-purpose intention, and I'll share that with you. And then while we hold the the Padma Mudra, the Lotus Mudra, I'll do a devotional chant. And it's just 2 words. It means I am divine love. And after we've said our sankalpa about love, then we can just hold Padma Mudra. And if you like, do this simple 2-word chant with me if it resonates. And if not, just listen and drink it in. And then if there's any time left, I planned these kind of in order. Let's ground, let's dispel fear, let's open to love. Yeah, those are the 4. But if there's any time left, we'll see. We'll dispel some anxiety. It's kind of going out of order, but I think that would be a cool one to show you and to do with you anyway. So, well, you know what? Let's just do that one first. Then we'll ground after that, okay? So this very first one is to dispel anxiety. I didn't plan any phrases or mantras or anything like that. So we'll just do it for a couple minutes because this could get tiresome because our elbows are in line with our shoulders and our hands are just like this, and we just flip back and forth, flip back and forth. So let's do that now. I've got an eye on the clock. We'll just do a couple minutes, and this is to dispel anxiety. So I'm going to close my eyes and peek every once in a while at the clock. Again, if your arms get tired, lower them. If it feels right, just trust the ancients when they say that this helps us dispel anxiety. And we'll be like a scientist and just explore in the laboratory of our own body and mind. So just one more minute, lest your arms get tired. You can even lower them a little if holding them this high is uncomfortable. I think just the speed at which you rotate is up to you. If we were super anxious, we might go faster. We might slow down as we finish this second minute here. Or not. Breathing normally, even though this is kind of a little different than our everyday movements. We can let our breath continue to flow. We're almost there. But now listen to your own body. And we've done 2 minutes. So let your arms rest. Let your eyes close. And just breathe into the sensations you feel. Breathe into the sweet relief of your release. And anchor your awareness into those pulsations, those echoes of the mudra for dispelling anxiety. Perhaps there's a fair amount of sensation in your hands moving up your forearms. like mine. Or maybe there are other sensations you're aware of. One method for reducing anxiety is to exhale longer than we inhale. So as we sit here for a half minute more, count how long it takes you to breathe in. Breathe out that same count for a couple rounds. And then if it feels natural, extend your exhalation by one as you more actively draw the abdominals in toward the spine. With no set agenda on the length of our count, we just make that exhale a little longer. A couple more breaths. And we'll go right into our next mudra from here. So with this mudra, our thumbs and index fingers touch. They make like a circle. And then we place our palms down on our knees or thighs. So you just rest your hands. I've got a blanket on me, but I'll show you. My hands are just going to rest on my knees like that. If you were preparing for meditation, you want to receive energy, it's called Jnana Mudra, and you just flip your palms up. But right now we're going to ground, especially after all that that we just did. So you can let your eyes close if that's comfortable, and those hands resting wherever they're most comfortable, on your thighs or knees or in between. And we'll just start out by feeling how our hands are resting on our body and how our body is rising up to support our hands. So we exhale, feeling our hands sink and settle onto our legs. And we inhale and feel our legs rising up to support our hands. You can stay with that, or you can exhale to feel not only your hands, but your seat supported. And then inhaling, feeling the surfaces beneath you rise up to support your body, your hands and your seat. Exhaling, sinking and settling into the support. Inhaling to feel the support rise up beneath you and hold you. Exhale, feeling your hands and seat resting on the support beneath you that rests on the foundation of your home. Inhaling, get the sense of that foundation in your body rising up to support you. Of course, if this is too much, just narrow in on one or two things. And we'll expand it one time more. We'll exhale, feeling our hands and our seat meet our foundation that meets the earth. And we'll inhale to feel the earth, the foundation, our seat, our body supporting us. Exhaling, we sink and settle. Inhaling, we are supported. And in your mind, if you like, for the next minute and a half, mentally repeat, exhaling, I sink and settle. Inhaling, I feel the support beneath me. Exhaling, I sink and settle. Inhaling, I feel the support beneath me. And let that be all there is for another minute. That and the natural flow of your breath. The configuration your hands are making and how they symbolize feeling rooted and grounded and safe and secure. When the mind wanders, we know that's normal. The moment we notice is the moment we're back. Once again, exhaling to sink and settle. Inhaling to feel the support beneath us. And then we can slowly release the mudra, perhaps lower the chin to the chest, and flutter the eyes open when ready. And just simply notice the effects, if any. I actually think that the grounding was probably a little more profound after the anxiety releasing. So, any questions before we move to the next mudra? Not really? Okay. Alrighty. So then next I have planned, it's called abaya mudra. And it's spelled, I can put it in. It's a little harder to pronounce because the B forces the H. So it's abaya. And this is the one for dispelling fear. Here we go. And so it's the right, so the right arm is elbow in line with the shoulder and the palm is up. And then the left hand just cups around your solar plexus. So that I could probably, well, yeah, I have lots of statues around that do that. And of course, there's not one right handy that I could show you, but you've probably seen that a lot, that gesture. And I think there's even some Christian gestures of this too, because you'll see images of Christ using mudras as well. And so the the idea is that this is the facing of the fear, and then this is the receiving the gift of fearlessness. So, whom, like to whom it may concern, is also a single seed syllable mantra that is said to break up and dispel fear. So, I love putting mudras and mantras together, and I'm just going to chant it. When you do the single seed syllables, it's not super fast, it's not super slow. It'll be like home, 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 home. And then when we do that for about a minute, we'll slow it down and whisper it. And when we whisper it, it is slower. It's like, and it reminds me of the wind. And you can just sort of feel the winds of change. There's so much to be afraid about right now, of course, and there's so much fear out there that if you're sensitive at all, it's hard not to pick it up. So this is not only that, just navigating our changing world, and so this is really, really powerful. This is a mudra and a mantra that I did for 3 years, just once a day for 3 years. It's been a while, but it's pretty powerful. So I invite you to make it your own. Release your arms if they get tired. As we sit tall on the earth, we can close our eyes. And if you like, you can take a moment to just identify a fear or two, both personally and perhaps of the collective, that we can clear. And so we'll begin with the seed syllable whom as I check the time. Here we go. Whom, 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 home, 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 home. To the whisper. So we release this. Put your right hand in front of your left. Let your fingers come together and bring your hands over your heart. I see that the time got away from me a little bit, and so I'm just going to lead us into 1 minute of this chant. Aham Prema means I am divine love. So casting off our fears, sitting in the awareness that we are divine love. Aham Prema. 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 In a whisper. Aham Prema. Aham Prema. Inwardly repeating, I am divine love. And we can lower our chin to our chest. Flutter the eyes open and release when ready. So, not much time for the check-in, but I'll hand it to you, Tom, to wrap up. Really, we got to do every one I wanted but the Padma Mudra. But anyway, we talked about it. So I may have to come back sometime in the new year and do more. Yeah.
I think you'd be most welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.